Welcome back, guys. I know it's taken me a while for the next step of this tutorial. I really appreciate everybody waiting so long. So we're going to get started. This is where we left off last time. As you can see, we had paint in the background. This is where we had our initial, sorry for the noise there for a second, where we had our initial background technique with the wax pastels. So after looking at this for a little while, I figured that the background blended in too much with our squares. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit of folk art, just regular craft paint. This is peony, and I'm going to take a stipple brush. I'm going to dry brush this, so I didn't have any water at all. I just dipped it in a little bit, and now I'm going to tap a little bit of off, and I'm just going to randomly stipple a little bit of this paint on, just random. Like I said, I just want the background to a little bit stick out a little bit, not stick out, I guess that's not the right word, but I want the background to be a little bit brighter than the squares and not blend in so much. So just a little bit of random. And yeah, as you see, I'm using a very small stipple brush, and I'm concentrating on certain areas. But that's okay, because I'm going to go back with my little paper towel and just blot away some of those, so that it's not as concentrated and not in your face as it just was. I'm going to wet it a bit to get a little bit more off. So you can do this with any color that that you're comfortable with, that you want. This is what happened to be around me, so it's what I chose to use. Just want something a little bit different. So as you can see, I'm wiping most of it off. You can add as much as you want or as little as you want. I just wanted another quick little layer. So the next step, I have a couple of tickets here cut out. This was one from my lovely friend Arlene. Thanks, Arlene. Beautiful Invoke Art stamp. It was actually 5, and I just cut out 3. Create, Inspire, and Dream. So what I'm going to do is cut off a little bit from the bottom. What I'm going to do is place these right alongside each one of the little sections I have. And why I'm cutting it off is because I want it to make it look like it's coming out from behind it. Rather than attaching it to it. So just cutting off a little bit, and this one I'm gonna put here. So I'm gonna use my because this is the top layer, one of the top layers I should say, I am gonna use regular gel matte medium rather than my glue stick, because there isn't gonna be too much on top of it, and I definitely want to make sure that they're going to stay on there. So I'm just using a little bit on my paintbrush. Remember, you want specific paintbrushes for glue, separate from the ones that you use for paint. I stamped these on a very thin paper. It's not even photocopy weight. This is really thin paper. And what happens when you use such thin paper, maybe I can show you on this one, like we're talking really thin paper. You can see the stamp on the other side. I just stamped this in archival, but when you're using such thin paper, it almost melts, blends into your journal page. So I really like stamping on super thin paper for when I collage. And then just gonna put this guy up here. Just like so. You can use stickers in this layer. You can draw something. You can use a stamp, not on paper. But I just wanted to add something a little bit extra. So from here, I'm going to take some pan pastels. So you heard me talk about pan pastels in a video. You know what? I'm not going to do pan pastels. That's the next step. I'm going to take my ballpoint pen. Sorry about that. Next video we'll do the pan pastels in the last layer. So my ballpoint pen, because we used water-soluble oil pastels in the background first, it's actually, what can I say? It's thick, and it's Oh, I'm a loss for words today, guys. You're capable of writing into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do some swirls, and I'm going to press very, very hard. You can't see the ink. I'm not worried about not seeing the ink because we're going to do another texture on top. So as you can slightly see, what I'm doing is digging into that original pastel layer. And I'm going to do it on all 3 sections, just in the corner of one of the squares. You can write words, you can write your journaling like this, you can doodle your heart out, whatever you know comes to you at the moment. But you know me, I gotta have swirls somewhere on my page. So I did it here, here, and I guess I'll do it over here somewhere. So what's going to happen, I'm going to scrape some acrylic paint over these little sections. So the acrylic paint is going to sink in to the circles, or excuse me, the swirls that I'm cutting out. And I'm carving kind of into the page. That's why I'm pressing very, very hard, you know, kind of wiping off my pen every so often. It's not going to harm your pen either. I can turn it over a couple of pages and, you know, I'm writing normally again. That's why I just love these big pens. So I got 3 little spots. It's very, very hard to see. The look I'm going for, if you flip over this page, is this. So this is a page that I created with that initial technique in the background. I scratched into it, I did my swirls all over, and then I scraped paint over. So you can see, you know, up here where the blue paint, acrylic paint, you know, seeped into what I carved. And I did some yellow and went over a couple times. It's such a cool technique. So I'm going to take my just basics acrylics from Liquitex. This was a set that a starter set that I bought, and I'm just going to put a little bit of paint in the corner where that drawing is. Now this is kind of tricky. I'm not going to worry about it if it goes outside the lines, but I'm just going to scrape it over. So you see how the paint is sinking into what I carved, shall we say, into that paper, and it's just going to blend in a little bit. It's going to stick out. Now you can say, Paula, why didn't you just do that with a marker rather than, you know, this whole step of carving and then painting? You know, surely you can get the same look if you just use a marker, but it doesn't give the same, textural look. I'm going to do the same thing over here. It doesn't give the same texture as when you carve it. So it just adds that extra layer. You can see I'm not worrying too much, but I'm definitely not trying to go outside the line, shall we say, of where my post-it notes originally were. Just adding that little extra. You can have, maybe over here I want it to look a little bit more rough, so I'm going to leave a little bit more paint over there. And then lastly, on this one, so try to add, like with anything, add a little bit of paint. If it's not enough to cover the whole space that you doodled over, you can add a little bit more. But if you add, not that you can't take it away, because with your credit card you can kind of scrape it off, and you can see I still have a whole bunch of paint there. But you don't want to have way too much paint and it kind of goes all over the place. So start out with a little bit first and see where it takes you. And I feel like I'm going to put a little bit up there. So if you don't, if you have too much paint, like maybe say, oh, I went outside the lines, take your little paper towel or baby wipe and just kind of slightly wipe it away. There's no mistakes, right? We're just adding a little bit of an extra layer. Play around with it. You have that open drying time when you're using, student grade acrylics. So I'm going to stop the video right here and go on to part 2. Please come back. I'll see you in a second.